What's up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, aka the Black Cobra, here to educate you today on health, fitness, and social well-being. Today, guys, we're talking about arms.
I am the greatest.
Someone look color. Someone look color. Someone look cash.
Alright, guys, so this is a topic that we all knew was going to come eventually. Why? Because everybody loves a pair of nice arms, whether you're a guy, girl, whether you want to build them up for yourselves, or because you like, a nice pair of arms on whoever you're looking at. Everybody loves nice arms. So, of course, on Instagram, Snapchat, and a couple comments on my videos, everyone's always asking, what's the TheSwolefessor do for those arms, for the tries and buys? What do I do? And basically, guys, what I'm going to be doing is just going over different ways that you can train arms and whether you need an arm day or not, as well as what I specifically do for my own arms. Alright, guys, so the first thing is what are the different ways that you can train arms. So the way that we can train most muscle groups, not all but most, is either through a compound movement or an isolation movement. A compound movement is anything like squats, deadlifts, bench press, barbell row pull-ups, basically any movement where you're working more than one muscle group at a time. For example, if I do a bench press, I'm working my chest, my front delts, and my triceps. So that's more than one muscle, therefore it's a compound movement. Whereas if I do something like a bicep curl, I'm pretty much just isolating the bicep by itself. I'm not using my back, or I shouldn't be anyway, or my shoulders or any other part of my body to work the muscle. So the two ways that we can work arms through compound or isolation movements. Now, people often want to know which is better. Is it better if I want to build up my biceps, should I be doing a bunch of, barbell rows, pull-ups, chin-ups, etc., or should I be doing different variations of curls? And of course, as always, the answer is, guys, it depends. Let me go ahead first of all and say I am a big proponent of heavy compound movements first and doing isolation work as accessories for lacking muscle groups. For beginners, I don't think you should be worrying about isolation movements that much at all. And you certainly shouldn't be having anything like an arm day. The reason being is, as a beginner, you want to put the most focus on progressive overload and frequency with your big, heavy compound movements, because that's what's going to give you the most strength and put on the most size for you, especially when you're in your first, year to 3 years. Really, you want to optimize those beginner gains. So, bench press, pull-ups, barbell rows, overhead press, dumbbell shoulder press, all movements where you're either, pushing or pulling towards yourself, where yes, they involve the chest and back, but are also going to be really good for your arms, as far as like any pulling motion you're doing, like a pull-up is going to put a lot of work on your bicep, and any pressing motion is going to put a lot of work on your triceps. So it makes more sense to do it that way if you're a beginner, just because you're going to be able to move a whole lot more weight on a bench press than what you're going to be able to on a tricep press down. So even though, yes, your chest is still helping you move that load, you're going to have quite a bit of overload on the triceps as well. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have isolation movements at all if you're a beginner. I'm just saying make sure you save those towards the end. Maybe like, one or two. Like, for example, if you're on a full body routine, then when you're done with all your compound movements, you want to come in and throw in a little bit of tricep extensions or bicep curls, just 3 sets of each of those exercises. That's totally fine. But at no point, if you're a beginner, should you be coming in and just doing a straight arm day. There's really no need for that. Now, for everybody else who's not a beginner, like I already said, I'm still a big proponent of heavy compound movements first, and then working on accessory isolation movements. I actually, yesterday, had an arm day with my friend Kira, which there will be a video out for you guys sometime this week over that, and it was my first arm day since January 17th. Which will tell you guys 2 things. 1, I'm serious when I say I keep track of all of my workouts, because the only reason I know this is because I just looked it up this morning. And 2, that you don't have to have an arm day to have some pretty decent arms. Basically, I build my arms through mostly compound movements and then doing accessory work as needed. So I'm currently on a push-pull leg split. So at the end of my push days, when I've done my compound movements like bench, weighted dips, OHP, everything like that, then I'll do a couple of tricep accessory moves at the end. I'll do like 3 sets of tricep press downs and 3 sets of tricep overhead extensions, so that I'm working the long head of my tricep as well. And in the same way, if it's a pull day, after I've done my heavy pull movements like my barbell rows, my machine rows, my weighted pull-ups, I'll come in and do straight barbell curls, preacher curls, or dumbbell supinator curls, something that's really focused on the peak. And then my second bicep movement will be something like rope hammer curls or dumbbell hammer curls to really focus more on the outer head. And then that's about it, guys. Other than that, I don't do much else for my arms, just because you have to keep in mind, if you're going in and you're doing 4 compound movements for either your chest or your back, then that's technically still 4 movements for your bicep or tricep as well, which means that you really don't have to go and just kill them with 3, 4, 5 extra isolation movements at the end, because you've already given them quite a bit of work. So that's my main reasoning for compounds first and then putting isolation towards the end. And if I had to just choose one or the other, I would definitely choose compounds only, just because you're going to be able to put a bigger load on that muscle group. Like even with just pull-ups, I currently weigh about 162 pounds. So if I'm just doing pull-ups, even with just my body weight, even though yes, my back is helping me do the work, that's still 162 pounds that's working on my biceps as well. I can't curl 162 pounds. So it's just more of a load on the muscle group. And as I build the reps up with that, that's going to stimulate a whole lot of muscle growth. It's going to be great for muscle hypertrophy. So that is the reason as to like why I would pick compounds over isolates. But once again, you have those options as far as how you train. Now, focusing more specifically on the arm day, as far as do you need an arm day, is it necessary or not? Like I said, if you're a beginner, there's no reason you should have an arm day. If you're a beginner, there's no reason you should have a day where you're coming in and just hitting one muscle group. Your focus needs to be on big, heavy compound movements, and you need to be hitting multiple muscle groups at once. Whether that means you're on a full body, you're coming in hitting your entire body, or an upper lower where you're hitting at least your chest, back, and arms and shoulders together, or a push-pull legs where you're hitting all your pushing muscles together, your pulling muscles together, and then your legs. There isn't a reason you should be coming in and just hitting one muscle group, especially as a beginner. Like, yes, you can still make gains that way, but as we went over, it's just not the most optimum way to train, especially if you're a beginner. For everybody else, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having an arm day. Whether you need one or not is pretty much going to depend on you, like your specific genetics. Everybody has, lagging muscle groups, meaning after you've been training for, 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to start to realize kind of like what's easier for you to train, like what parts of your body, which muscle groups in your body grow relatively easily, and which ones are really hard for you. For some people, it may be their arms, maybe their chest, back, legs, calves. For me, it's definitely calves, but it just depends. So whenever you have a lagging muscle group, doing a little bit of accessory work is always great for it, which means, whether that's doing a little bit of accessory tricep work at the end of your push day, or if it means just having a whole separate arm day, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, guys. You can definitely do that. For example, for me being on push-pull legs, the way I would do it is push-pull legs, and then basically what I did yesterday, coming on a Sunday, and then hit arms, like just biceps and triceps alone. Like I said, I usually don't have an arm day. Arms have never really been so much a lagging muscle group for me. And whenever I felt like I wanted to bring them up a little bit, I would just, throw in 1 or 2 more extra accessory work movements at the end of my my main workouts with my compounds. With that being said, guys, if you're someone where you just really feel like your arms are lagging behind, or you just want to train arms more directly because you enjoy it, that's the thing, guys, you got to do what you enjoy, and there's nothing wrong with having an arm day. You can definitely throw that in. I personally wouldn't throw in more than maybe 1 arm day specifically a week, just because, like I said, with almost any split routine you're on, your arms are still going to be getting plenty of stimulation, assuming that the frequency is high enough through all your compound movements. Like I said, push days, pull days, or you just have 2 upper body days a week. So you don't want to go and throw in 2, 3 arm days, just because you want to make sure that your arms, even though they do recover relatively quickly compared to a lot of other muscles in the body, you still want them to be fresh enough for when you come in and hit your compounds. For example, my arms are actually pretty sore today from working them yesterday. Well, today is a push day for me. So when I'm bench pressing and doing my weighted dips, everything like that, I'm probably going to be feeling it a little bit more in my triceps than what I'd like to. Now, granted, over time, your body adapts to whatever you're putting it through. So you would get used to the arm day, but you can see the issue if you had, 2 or 3 arm days every week trying to squeeze those in. 1, where you find the time, and 2, you don't want it to tax out, your big lifts, like your bench press, your pull-ups, your weight dips, because at the end of the day, those lifts are going to benefit you the most. Alright, guys, so lastly is to answer everybody's questions about my arms specifically. The first one that I get very commonly is, what size are my arms? So my arms flexed are about 16 and a half when pumped inches around. I'm trying to get them to 17s, but it's a process. I'm out of my beginner gains, but for being 5'7", 162 pounds, I don't think 16s are too bad. With that being said, the next question is always, how did I get my arms to the point that they're at now? Keep in mind, guys, I've been lifting for 5, almost going on 6 years, but I've been working out for 11, almost going on 12 years, because I did start with bodyweight calisthenics when I was 11 years old, and I'm now 22. Now, a lot of people underestimate what all you can really do with just bodyweight movements, but keep in mind, at starting at such a young age, it's a great way to build a great base of strength and get a lot of stimulation in the muscles, but Also, keep in mind that it's a real easy way to progressively overload as well. Think about it. You're 11 years old, weighing however much you weigh, and you start doing, push-ups, dips, pull-ups, chin-ups, things like that as far as your arms are concerned anyway. And, as you get older, because like I said, I did that from 11 to age 17 before I ever started, lifting weights at all. So that's 6 years of me growing, one, just from going from being 11 to 17. So I'm growing naturally, putting on some natural weight and muscle mass just from puberty, as well as since I'm putting on extra muscle mass from weight training, with my body weight. That means that I went from, let's just say hypothetically, 110, 115 pounds to however much I was weighing when I was 17 years old. So if you go from doing, 5 sets of 10 chin-ups or pull-ups, weighing 120, and let's say you end up being 140 pounds, well, that's 20 pounds of progressive overload. So you increase the weight, so to speak, as well as, hopefully by then from being used to the movement and being used to your body weight, you've been able to increase your repetitions as well. So that gave me a great base for my arms and just a great base of strength as well. So that way when I did start weight training, my strength was already pretty solid. So like, for example, on the bench press, for example, a lot of people when they first start kind of have to maybe build up to a player. So at least at the weight that I was at anyway, but I had no issues with that. When I first started lifting weights, I could already pretty much max out at about 185 pounds or around 185 to 205, something like that. And for my body weight at the time, that was pretty good. And it just built up from there. And I definitely contribute a lot of that to the base of strength that I build with calisthenics. Furthermore, guys, something that I definitely did is, like I said, when I did start weight training, huge emphasis on compound movements. Like, that's it. Like, the only isolation movement I even, ever did, my first maybe, 3 years of lifting, were bicep curls. I would do, a set of some type of bicep curl at the end, whether it was, dumbbells or barbell curls. But I also, once again, I didn't treat my isolates the way that a lot of people do. I still train my isolate the same way I did my compound movements. And that's something else that I think was a huge difference for me compared to a lot of people. A lot of people, they'll come in, maybe do 3 sets of 8, 3 sets of 10, however many sets of, 8 to 10 reps of their compound movements. But then they'll get to their isolate movements. Let's say they pick up, 20-pound dumbbells, and they're just going, working to failure, hitting 15, 20 reps, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that in the sense of, you can increase muscle mass due to metabolic fatigue. But once again, structured progressive overload, guys. Me, I treated my isolates just like I did my compounds. So, like I said, at first I was only doing curls, but even when I learned about tricep press downs and other arm isolates, it's not that I did a whole lot of them. It's just that I still would do, 3 sets of 10 or so. Whenever I got 3 sets of 10, I would up the weight. So instead of just sitting here doing, 20s, doing 20, 30 plus reps, just working to failure, I structured it. Okay, let's start with 20 pounds. Okay, got 3 sets of 10 each arm, go to 25, 3 sets of 10 each arm, go to 30, 3 sets of 10 each arm, go to 40, 50, 60, etc. So the same thing with the barbell curls. So because of that, you can look at it this way. What do you think gives you more benefit? Using, lighter weight and just doing a whole bunch of multiple reps, when honestly, guys, when you get to 15 plus reps, you're not even really working muscular hypertrophy anymore or your strength. It's really more muscular endurance, or treating all your muscles the same, putting, setting a certain set for a certain amount of reps, and whenever you can hit that, you increase the weight so you can gradually put more of a load on your muscles. And that's another thing, guys. I'm going to go over specifically the best ways that you can progressively overload in the future, because the order is first weight, then reps, then volume. Meaning the first thing you always want to try to do to progressively overload is to increase weight. If you can't do that, you want to increase your reps. And if you can't do that, you want to increase your volume, meaning, adding in an extra set or an extra 3 sets of another exercise for that same muscle group. So that's something else that helped me a lot. But like I said, guys, my main focus was always on compounds. Now, something I can tell you guys is for a while, my biceps kind of ate my triceps, meaning they just didn't seem very proportional, which that should never be the case, guys, because your tricep is technically 2/3 of your entire arm. So it should actually be bigger than your bicep. And it's actually the part of your arm that kind of makes your arm look pretty big, when you're just standing to the side, not really flexing or anything like that. So, if you want the sleeves, hugging everything like that, then you definitely want to focus on triceps. Granted, I got a lot of tricep work for my compound movements, but as I said, when I first started lifting weights, the only isolate movement I ever did was pretty much bicep curls. So over time, I started to see where that imbalance was coming from, started throwing in some more tricep accessory work to balance it out, and now my arms are more or less pretty balanced. So that's what I specifically did for my arms, and those are the tips that I have for you guys as far as how you should train your arms. At the end of the day, guys, there's a lot of different ways to train muscle groups. You got to find what works for you. This was just me pretty much, answering your guys' questions as far as like, what do I think about training arms? How did I specifically train my arms, and how do I feel about compounds versus isolation movements? I personally, like I said, it's not about doing it just one way, guys. There's lots of ways to get to 10, It's not just 5 plus 5. There's lots of different number combinations to get to 10, and there's lots of different ways you can fulfill your goals. It's just about doing, first of all, what's in that scientific realm of possibility, but within that, you can fall anywhere within that spectrum as far as what works best for you. So you got to do, yes, what's scientifically optimum, but also what you enjoy. So that's the main thing with training any muscle group, guys. All right, guys, so that is it for this video. I definitely feel like it's a little bit longer than what I originally planned for it to be, but that's okay. This wasn't really formal. Just, me talking to you guys about how you can make some gains. And be on the lookout, guys. Sometime this week, I will finally be talking to you guys about how I specifically program my push-pull legs and squat every day. I won't necessarily get into all the details about like the progress I made with it. I still want to do that with my friend Corey when I get a chance, but I'll definitely at least, sit down and talk to you guys about like, what my push days look like, my pull days, my leg days, along with the squat every day as far as like the variations, the sets, the rep schemes, everything like that. And like I said, also be on the lookout for that workout video with me and my friend Kira, that arm day we did, because it'll just be great for you guys as far as if you are someone who feels like your arms are lacking muscle group, or you just want to have an arm day because why not? It's your body, you can do what you want. Then it's a great example for what you guys can do for your arms and abs, because we also did abs. She kicked my butt on that. I'm gonna let you guys know that already. Your boy has to get back to hitting these more directly. But anyway, I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. As always, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific, and I'll catch y'all later.
I am the greatest.
Someone look color. Someone look color.